is session 1 of what I'm calling My God and My King. We're approaching the season of Advent, when the church celebrates the coming of Jesus. Traditionally, in the week before Advent, we look at the theme of Christ the King. And so this is the topic that I want to look at this week in a bit more detail. Psalm 10:16 says, "The Lord is King forever and ever." Psalm 93, 1-2, "The Lord reigns, he is robed in majesty. The Lord is robed in majesty and is armed with strength. The world is firmly established, it cannot be moved. Your throne was established long ago. You are from all eternity." Pictures of God as the King, reigning in power and majesty. Now, there are many other references in the Psalms to God as King, because God is King over all creation. But God chose to carry out his kingship through human beings that he created. In Genesis it says, "Let us make human beings in our own image." So he created Adam and Eve, and he gave them dominion over all that he created. Genesis 1:28-30. God blessed them and said, "Be fruitful and increase in number. Fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, and over every living creature that moves on the ground." Then God said, "I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food." So God's giving Adam the mandate to fill the earth and subdue it, and to rule over it. So God would carry out his kingship through Adam. But we know that Adam failed by disobeying. He wanted to decide for himself what was good and what was not. In other words, he really wanted to take the kingship out of God's hands. And so he was removed from the Garden of Eden. But God didn't give up. He wanted to rule his kingship through humanity. So he called Abraham to follow him. And he said this, Genesis 17:6. He made a covenant and he said, "I will make you very fruitful. I will make nations of you, and kings will come from you. I will establish my covenant as an everlasting covenant between me and you and your descendants after you for generations to come, to be your God and the God of your descendants after you." So here God was establishing the nation of Israel to be his people. He's renewing the mandate that he originally gave to Adam, but this time it couldn't just be a command. It had to be a gift that he was giving to Abraham, because sin had come into the world. Israel was to become God's new son. Hosea 11:1. "When Israel was a child, I loved him, and out of Egypt I called my son." Israel was to be a kingdom of priests, a holy nation. God took them out of Egypt, and he spoke to Moses and said, "Although the whole earth is mine, you will be for me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation." So this was the whole purpose of the people of Israel. A priest is a go-between between God and the people. And so they were to be God's go-between between himself and the rest of the world. Isaiah 42:6. "I have called you in righteousness. I will take hold of your hand. I will keep you, and I will make you to be a covenant for the people and a light to the Gentiles." So God was to rule through the nation of Israel. Now we know that they failed, but God never gave up on humanity. Despite our failures, God never gives up on us. And so the story continues.
The splendor of the King, clothed in majesty, let all the earth rejoice, let all the earth rejoice. He wraps himself in light, and darkness tries to hide, and trembles at his voice, trembles at his voice. How great is our God, sing with me, how great is our God, and all will see how great three in one. Father, Spirit, Son, the Lion and the Lamb, the Lion and the Lamb. How great is our God! Sing with me, how great is our God! And all will see how great is our God. He's a name.